early, so we're going to wait until other folks trickle in, and then we'll kick it off.
I have to say, of all the shows we have done in recent past, this might have had the most buzz. It's off the charts. I mean, people texting me, people wanting the YouTube stream. It's just been wild. Hey, Donnie.
Hey, Steven says
Hey,
he's here. Pull him up, Sriram.
Oh, yeah. Let me do that. Hey, Andrew.
Hey, how are you guys?
Hey, welcome. Hey, Abicho.
yo, how are you?
Good.
Hey, folks, we're going to give it a minute or two while we get people up. There's going to be a bunch of people, and then we should get going for what should be a really fun episode. Hey, Paul.
Hey.
Hey, Paul.
Hey, Paul.
Welcome.
I'm excited for this one.
I know.
Who
I have
wants
to
to
say, Paul,
purchase my photo?
Paul, NFTs might be the one piece of technology which has gotten more buzz in the last few months than Clubhouse has.
It's got a lot of buzz on Clubhouse.
That is true.
That is true.
Hey, Justin.
Hey everyone, how's it going?
Hey, Justin. We are well. Excited.
Yeah, what a time to be alive.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God, Justin, and you've had quite the boring day, haven't you?
Extremely boring. No, it's been amazing, and I'm really thankful to Clubhouse. Honestly, Paul, like you guys have created a platform to give everyone a voice. It's truly amazing.
Oh wow, thank you. Means a ton coming from you, and you've been a huge part of it, honestly.
Dude, no, seriously. I mean, ever since I joined in September, I've been addicted. I think most of us up here can say it's a new addiction.
Yeah, it's true.
Oh man, I always think this, but like it's gonna blow my mind when like things open up a little bit. We can have meetups in person. I feel like there's so many friends I've made here in the past year. It's just gonna be crazy to see people's faces actually move.
Yeah, that's very true.
People's faces move? Paul, that's such a hilarious way to put it. Clubhouse V2.
It's really weird if I Zoom with people that I've met on Clubhouse. Like it's so funny.
Yeah, so Paul, I think the first time I got on a call, like a video call with Rohan, I was like, you are real. You are a person. This is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see a CryptoPunk in person, personally.
Yeah.
Oh man.
We have Dylan over here, and so I think we're going to be there's going to be a bunch of that today.
Cool. Sriram, do you want to kick it off? You want to give it a couple more minutes?
Yeah. Okay. Wait. Here we go. Okay. I found the person who we're waiting for. Let me pull him up. The person. Well, one of the two people of the hour. Here we go. Here we are.
Oh.
Awesome. Ooh.
All right. I think with that, we have a full house. Steven, hit the music.
Live from San Francisco and here on Clubhouse, it's The Good Time Show, bringing you today in technology. And now your hosts, Arti and Sriram.
Hey folks, welcome to tonight's episode of Good Time. We usually try and take a break on Friday nights or Saturday mornings, wherever you are in the world. But this week has been an extra special week, especially in the world of NFTs, and there's a lot going on. And in the last 24 to 48 hours, so much has happened. And so tonight is like one time only extra special episode of Good Time. And with that, I'm going to let Sriram introduce our special guest for the day. Night.
Awesome. Thanks, Adi. Thank you, everyone. I know we don't usually do Friday episodes, but this was such a unique opportunity and a unique set of guests that I'm really excited. And let me quickly go through our guests for today. And so first up, you have some folks you might recognize from the last time we did an NFT show. People who need absolutely no introduction. We have Roham, founder and CEO of Dapper Labs, and the company behind the small phenomenon called Top Shots. You might have heard a thing or two about them. We have Avichal of Electric Capital, a long-time investor and expert in all things crypto. We have Dylan Field of Figma, but who's probably we're going to talk about a lot of things. His profile picture tells you what we're going to talk to about today, and it's going to be really really fun. We have Donnie Dinch, founder and CEO of Bitsky, who do some really, really interesting things around NFTs and wallets. Donnie, thank you so much for joining us. Really happy to have you on the show. We have Blau, who's also had a really, really interesting day on all things NFTs and crypto. And Blau, such a delight to always have you. But I want to kind of get to the three people who kind of caused this to happen. So last night I got a really weird DM, and the DM was from Andrew Steinwald, who runs a fund in the NFT ecosystem, and he basically asked me, "Hey, would I be interested in hosting the buyers of the Beeple every day the first 5,000 days?" So unless you've been on Rock, and I'm assuming, by the way, if you're listening to this show, you probably know what I'm talking about. People who, by the way, I'm trying to get him on the show today, but I suspect he's probably celebrating, and as he should be, and probably no condition to joining us, but he might show up at some point in time. But as you know, Christie's held a historic auction yesterday, collecting Beeple's everyday project for 5,000 days, which I believe is like 13 years, 14 years, and they ran a very, very, very intensely watched, talked about auction yesterday, which a mysterious buyer or buyers at the very last minute wound up purchasing for a little over $69 million. And we didn't know who the identity was. And last night I get a message saying, "Hey, would I be interested in having the winners of this auction on our show?" And of course, I said yes. And this is so unique for us. We have never had guests where we don't know the identity of the people involved. Now, I don't want to reveal how, but I got to kind of like verify that these folks are actually who they claim they are. But in case you're wondering how you can verify that the people we are talking to are actually the winners of the auction, just go check out Christie's tweet. You will see the Twitter. They'll link to the Twitter handles of the two people that we have on today. So in case you want to build your own trust chain, and we are in crypto after all, don't trust me. You can go verify that just starting with Christie themselves. But without any further ado, I want to introduce two people who I know only by name, pseudonym, and I've never met before. Uh, Tubador and MetaKovan. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And first I want to say two things. First, I want to say thank you for choosing us. It's quite the honor that you kind of chosen us to come talk about this for one of the very first times. So we really appreciate this. And second, let me ask you, I think what a lot of people are probably thinking, which is, who are you and why did you just pay $69 million for this piece of art?
Hey Sriram, thanks so
Yeah.
much for having us here. I'll take maybe the first part of the question. I'm not entirely sure we are real at this point, or any of what happened over the last couple of days are real as well. But this is a pleasure being here because I'm a massive fan of this show and the conversation that you and Aarti run. I'm fascinated by how effortlessly you slip from breadth to depth on a variety of such eclectic topics, from politics to policy to technology, and even the NFT session that you did. So happy to be part of this conversation finally. As for the rest of it, I think MetaKovan is best poised to answer that part.
Thanks a lot for having me, and yeah, thanks a lot, Sriram, for getting this together. So yeah, I don't know how to go into the exact purchase itself. Maybe it's a longer conversation, but it'll be it's important to understand the context of where we are coming from. So, for example, I've always been in crypto, so I'm a crypto native. I've not lived in, like I've not lived in the fiat world for a while now, say 8 years now, and I've just lived on crypto. So that's been my life. So whatever my life is today is because of crypto. And so when these kind of things happen, it's one of them when they become mainstream is when we get the attention. But these are the kind of things we always do even within the ecosystem. So with NFTs, we have been in the space since 2017. So I've been supporting and buying a lot of NFTs for a while now. And when this happened, we felt like it was an important moment for the whole crypto space because it was a bridge between like what we call the real world and the crypto world. So and I would have I would have felt bad if we didn't bring it into the crypto world, right? Like if someone in the traditional world bought it, I've not been happy. So I'm happy that we could win it and bring it back, into the virtual world.
That's amazing.
That's amazing. Uh, I want to be very respectful of, I would say the identity and the pseudonymity that you folks have. But maybe that's probably maybe an interesting place to start, right? MetaKovan, like, I think a lot of people will be curious about, like, what's the story behind you and the name MetaKovan, and how did you get into crypto? And of course, just feel free to share whatever you're comfortable sharing. But as you can imagine, there's probably going to be a lot of curiosity about who we are all talking to today.
Sure, I can do that. So I started in crypto 2013, early 2013 when Bitcoin was $100. I didn't have money, so it's not like I bought a bunch of Bitcoins and sat on it. And I'm not a maximalist. I think maximalists are lazy. That could be a provocative statement, but that's that's my opinion. And but once I started in crypto, there was no looking back. So I started on forums, Bitcoin Talk. I've been escrow agents to people trying to flip Bitcoin to altcoins, and then became a service. And I did that for a while, and then moved on to build various startups in the space. By 2016, I was living in Canada for a while, because the startups brought me there. So crypto brought me into North America, and crypto also made me leave North America by 2017, when regulations were very unclear in Canada and the US also, and the tax treatment. So now I live in Singapore, which has been quite good. So I've been I've been thinking about crypto, like living on crypto every day, and that's my life. And about the name, Meta is just, it just means metaverse, and Ko in Tamil means king. So this is a name I was describing what I'm doing to my mom, and she told me you need an interesting name, so she got me this name. So it's called MetaKovan, which just means king of meta in Tamil.
By the way, since since you just mentioned it, I have to say, நீங்க தமிழ் நான் வந்து எக்ஸ்பெக்டே பண்ணல. இன்னைக்கு மார்னிங் எனக்கு ரொம்ப ஷாக் ஆயிடுது.
Okay, that's good. That's a nice little surprise. Yeah.
Yeah. Um. So. I'm trying to figure out. Okay. So talk to me a little bit about your history with
Mm.
NFTs.
Mhm.
And also Metaverse, which is Anyway, before this, there are two of you. So I'm kind of curious to get your history and the kind of some context of your partnership.
Oh, mine is way less interesting than MetaKovan's, but I'll give it a go. I'm not a crypto native, a muggle as far as I can describe myself. But I was pulled into the crypto space, kicking and screaming by MetaKovan. We know each other in real life, and in 2013, the first time he talked to me about Bitcoin, I understood all the words, but I had no idea what they meant when you put them together. So we didn't speak for the next 2 or 3 years. That might have been intentional after that first conversation. But then I sort of got in with him somewhere in 2017. We started exploring the space together. We had our own parallel journeys in a sense. NFT space, which we discovered thanks to the pandemic in my case, we sort of moved inward and it suddenly sort of clicked. So all of the words, I mean, I write for a living, I communicate for a living, and I finally felt that NFTs allowed me to express myself, to be myself in a way that nothing else had before, because of the abstractions, the high thought that each NFT packs into itself, and also the experience layer that they promise, right, in terms of visuals, in terms of color, in terms of sheer fun. So over the course of 2020, I sort of went really deep into the NFT space, and at some point, MetaKovan and I discovered that our thesis about the NFT space sort of converged, and so Metaverse as a cohesive entity was born. But as an idea, MetaKovan has been collecting culturally iconic and significant NFTs since late 2016. So yeah, that's sort of my story.
Um, that is really amazing. And by the
Yeah,
way,
I
we
just
have so many. We have, I would say, hundreds of tweets
because
already on so many topics, especially also from, especially a lot of people from India just being stunned too.
exactly.
So this is just really blowing up the internet right now.
Yeah, I was
Um,
just going to say the same thing. It's like we're getting hundreds of messages, all like especially our the Tamil friends. It's just like blowing everyone's mind. So my phone is basically like frozen for a second. This is surreal.
Um, okay, so I'm trying to figure out where to go next. MetaKovan. Okay, so could you talk to us about why NFTs matter to you, and why do you think they should matter to everyone? Because you've been ahead of this. Kind of to Tubadore's point, you've been ahead of the curve in this in many ways. So why do NFTs matter to you, and why should they matter to everyone here?
So the thesis is something that evolves over time. So I'm trying to remember why it mattered to me in 2017, and I feel like it's so very different from how I feel about it now. So I'll just give a feel of how I felt in 2017. So in 2017, when NFTs came out, there was a little bit of art, but one thing that really caught my attention was the virtual world and the fact that you could buy land in the virtual world. So the idea is that we all live in the real world, and if I really like history and I read a lot of history, and that's how I spend most of my time. And if you look at history and how new technologies are formed and how new countries were formed, new like kingdoms were formed, everything has a technology that goes with it, right? Like, for example, the discovery of oil um, changed the world, and maybe only 4 or 5 people got rich out of it, but it still mattered, right? So when when some new technology comes up, there is this possibility of there is of some new kind of redistribution of wealth that's going to happen. So I thought land was very interesting when I started. So Decentraland, what I did was I participated in the auction, and this was early 2017. So back then, I think I invested around $200,000 into Decentraland, which was a stupid amount of money then, right? And obviously, I don't know what the value of those lands are now, but I still hold I've not sold a single NFT in my life till today. That's
Wow,
something I can say be proud of.
Wow.
wow,
And
Wow.
and that means that that whole land, the piece of land, is the largest, a private estate in Decentraland, right? And someday I want to go back and as this cycle, maybe this cycle is all about art, but when this cycle ends and there's another cycle where everyone has better VR or machines in their home. When decentral land and virtual worlds makes more sense, maybe those lands become very valuable, right? So that's a long term play. And when I thought about that, my whole thesis was, man, this is a new, if not anything, not even going into the politics of it. If you think about it, this is a new medium of distribution. So there was Netflix, where the banner on Netflix. Imagine how much you would pay to get a spot on that, because it puts you in front of everyone's eyes, and that's why Netflix is valuable, because they get everyone's attention in the world, and
Mm-hmm.
then they decide who who should watch what, right? And think about decentral land. There is land. There is obviously infinite space. People ask me all the time, like, there is infinite space, right? Like, yeah, there is infinite websites also, but why do you go to Netflix? And the same reason, tomorrow you'd go to specific virtual worlds, and you'd go to specific areas, because you think that these areas are important. And once that that spreads as a word, and that becomes more and more, what would happen is we'd gain the attention of the global audience in one place, and we have lands there which is uncensorable, unconfiscatable. No one tomorrow can come to me and be like, yeah, it's not yours anymore, right? So that's something which is very powerful into the future, and that's how I got started into NFTs, because it gave me that unconfiscatable power for the first time, and I had a visual element to it now. So again, I because we all come from different parts of the world, and like it's hard to understand for someone in North America that like security, safety is all obvious, right? Like people talk about gold as though that's something you can just buy and keep somewhere, right? But it's not that easy in every other country. The police can just come into your home and take your gold away, right? Because one single person is always a minority, right? Like that's the politics of the world. So when we think about land, and when we think about NFTs, and it's unconfiscatable, it's a huge powerful it's a huge powerful asset, and it's for eternity, right? So that's why I got into NFTs, and that thesis has never changed. Maybe this cycle I don't make much money about it, and people don't talk about it, but that's one of my biggest investments, right?
Well, okay. Uh, uh, I keep, I'm kind of in like in shock here, and I think a lot of others are. So,
Yeah.
so just to kind of like make sure I get this right. So here you are, and
Mm.
you are, in the other side of the world from here. நீங்க ரெண்டு
Mhm.
பேரும் தமிழ் பேசுறீங்க,
Mhm.
and you bought 200K in Decentraland auction way before anybody else did, and you have
Yeah.
not sold a single NFT, till yesterday. That
Yeah. Yeah.
is just like, is that's just amazing.
Yeah, because that's why, like, people, when they think about what we are doing today, they think that we just jumped into this thing. But I'm sure that a lot of people, even in this clubhouse, know each other, right? Like not from like 2 months ago, but we know each other from 2 years ago, 1 year ago, right? And
Thousand
that's
percent.
that's very important. Yeah, and that's what is deep. And I'm happy that we are here, and we are about to gather more attention, and that's the objective.
Um, okay, so one maybe final thing on just what happened yesterday. You know,
Yeah.
first of all, I'm sure you guys have dominated the press. I saw, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times. All of my Twitter have all kind of been flooded
Mm,
with just the number. How
mm,
do you think about, look, $69 million is a large sum of money in
mm,
any which way you think about it. How do you
mm.
just think about like the number involved?
Yeah, I can talk about that. So, mm, so like a lot of people think will this is a bubble, right? But I've always felt like we are living in a bubble for a very long time, since 2013. So, ma- and this bubble, if it's if you want to make a visual out of it, has become more of a moot, right? Like think about the bubble, or the over all everything is overpriced now in the world. That means that anyone who has not been part of something already, it does not make sense to them, right? Like, because they are thinking about the old world, when three people could sit together and become a cartel, and set the prices of stuff, set the prices of startups, set the prices of commodity, and that's all gone. Now there's 100,000 people with some capital, and they're all participating in the same stuff. So that's why, like traditional people who are rich, they're thinking, man, these people are all stupid, right? But it's just that, that's the new mood. Like high valuations are the new mood, and people buy into it at a later point. That's the reality, right? So again, there are cycles to this, right? I'm not saying this specific valuation is the right valuation or wrong valuation. We never know. I have no idea. I paid $250,000 more
Mhm.
than what the other guy wanted to pay. That's it. I don't know if it's the right price, right? But if you ask me how I feel about it, right? Like how I feel about a transfer of $69 million from me to artists like Beeple, I'm proud of that. And I'll tell you why. So, in this world today, we live in a very in a capitalistic world where 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 riches accrue to a specific set of people, right? That's how societies work, and those people have very limited time, and they decide who else should be rich. So this is how the world has worked for a while now. Even with startups, if you think about it, because we have structures, VCs and firms that have funds which would invest on other people. The problem is you really have to make them understand some other worldview. Until then, you don't get the capital, right? And so now the world has changed because there are parallel worldviews and people have money to support their own worldview. So when people comes up, and when I think about what do I do with my money, right? Like I have money, and I have to, if I have to effectively deploy my capital in this world, I'm thinking the best way I could do this is by encouraging more people who share my own philosophy, right? And the only philosophy I really like sharing, and which I believe in is virtuosity, like having good virtues, right? So I have this quote because
Mhm.
you're also enjoying Tamil. I have
Yes,
this
please.
quote from Tiruvallur, right? So வெள்ளத்தனையது மலர் நீட்டம் மாந்தர்த்தம் உள்ளத்தனையது உயர்வு, which means a lotus when it's in a pond, and if there is no water, it's just down there. But when there is a flood, it rises up, right?
Yeah.
With the water, with the height of water. In the same way, people who have good virtues will rise up when
Yeah.
there is the wave, when there's the tide. And that's what is happening now. And so if you think about people, it's not a random pick, right? He's a person of virtue. You talk to him, you hang out with him, you think about who he is, his work, how inspiring it is, and I'm very happy that he now has capital in his hands and he has free rights over it to use it in his own way.
Yeah.
And he has his own worldview, and he can deploy $50 million now in this world, right? And I'm excited to see what's going to happen there without any expectation. So that's my position.
That's amazing. I really like that whole concept on like everybody can pursue their own worldview and now have the freedom and the right to go do it. I think that
Mm,
it's just really, really powerful. I wanted to ask about Metaverse and, also just, you have this auction, you won this. Where, like, what do you want to do from here? You've kind of hinted at the future. You've said this is kind of the starting. We'll see what happens in the future kind of thing. But what
mm.
happens from here? What's like the idea?
So we've been running quite like we've been running for a while now, and we already had a project called B20. I don't know
Yeah.
Yep.
if the audience would be
Could
familiar.
you
So
could you explain to maybe the folks who are not as plugged
Yeah.
into NFTs what B20 is?
I didn't
okay,
realize you're B20. That's so cool.
yeah. So just before all this Christie's thing came about, like when like I'm a huge fan of Beeple, right? Like I'm the only person I think who has bid on everything he has put out until now. So I bid on his first drop and I lost it for $66,000. And I wonder now why I didn't bid 67. But I'm talking about October, right? In October, $67,000 was a lot of money. So After that auction, um, I and Tubodu sat down and were thinking about what do we do with like we were already very active in the art space. We were collecting a bunch of NFT art, and we were into various collectibles, land, art, etc., etc. So I have teams that do like, for example, there's a thing called Sorare where we have a football team, and they it's just a virtual team, right? So the team plays using NFTs, and that's what they do. And we have a team in F1 Delta Time who race, who you have to. There's a simulation of a race, and then they just play that. So we were doing all of this, and I was thinking, what's next? Because this industry has to kind of grow, and we should have a lot more space. So what I did was, instead of thinking about me as an NFT collector, I wanted to see if we can create a new role. And I thought about myself as a producer, right? So like, you produce a movie in the real world, which also I do, by the way. So
Wait, 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 wait. You produce movies?
yeah, that's right.
Okay.
In India,
Wow.
yeah, yeah, Tamil movies.
Wow. Okay. I have
This is
so many questions
amazing.
about. Okay, sorry. Go on.
Yeah. So, so in that experience of producing movies, I wanted to bring and try to like explore that with NFTs. So what I did was, when Beeple announced the auction, we were thinking, okay, well, let's create a story around it, right? And I was talking to Tubador, and he gave me the confidence, to and the conviction to go and plan this out, and buy the whole collection. So we bought the whole collection, which was 20 one-of-ones. There are a lot of, like, side stories to it. I don't want to go deep into that, but we bought that, and at the the was the biggest sale, right? Like, we spent $2 million on 20 pieces, and that was like, yeah, that was news, and this was December, not too long ago, again. And we got all of that together, and we bought land in Decentraland, crypto voxels, and Somnium Space, which are all virtual worlds, which are up and coming. And then we hired an architect to build museums in these virtual worlds, all three, and we fixed these digital art into those virtual walls, and people could visit it, right? So we had a huge opening ceremony where you could come. It was called the Metapalooza, and people could come there, visit these museums, and while you leave, you could also buy a piece of the museum. That was the innovation here, where we took all the pieces of art, the land, the, there was also music by Blau, so the soundscape there. So that was an NFT too.
Thanks,
So we
man.
put everything together, yeah, and we we put that into a bundle, and we tokenized it, right? So what was I we started distributing it to people who are part of the production. If it's a movie, the people who are part of the production were, we had executive producer. Badur was the executive producer, and we had people who did promotions, Metacast, Andrew Steinwald, and there was a huge gang there. And we had a bunch of people working on this. And it was a huge success. And a lot of people also got their hands on the B20 token. And now, if you have B20, because a lot of people ask, how do I get exposure to NFT? And that was a question back then also. So if you have B20s with you, it is a piece, literally a piece of the 20 people one-of-one pieces, with the land, with the gallery, with the music, all together, right? So it's a most premium bundle out there, and I think it exploded, right? Like, it's exploded. I don't want to speculate, or I don't like talking numbers so much, but the market cap of B20 is like $200 million today, right? And we started at two. And I was that gave me a lot of confidence that there is, like, appetite for this, and this is something people are looking for. And so we wanted bigger and bigger stuff, because if there are only a few low valued NFTs, and there are a lot of, it's like the supply is less and the demand is more, so everything gets inflated. So we have
Yep.
to bring more high quality NFTs into such an index, or such a system, right? So that's when we decided, okay, what do we do next? And we've bunch of ideas. So I'm not going to step out of being a producer for a while. So I'm enjoying that role, thinking, like working creatively with so many artists, and I get, it's a very gratifying experience nonetheless. So that's been our experience so far, and into the future, I do have a dream for this piece, which is the first 5,000 days. But
Mm-hmm.
it, like, I don't know if it's just simple, right? Like, I don't want it to be. It's like, I don't want to make uh, uh, Transformers 2, right? So it's not like that. So I want to work on it in a way where, it's special, and it's because this is very special. Like, it's very close to my heart. It's If you spend some time, the the message from the art is very clear. It says that if you want to succeed in life, do it every day, right? That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very powerful, especially in this digital world, because every other thing is hackable, but not time, right? Yet, at least. So that's something which I think we want to really work on and produce something awesome around it.
Um, I want to ask both. First of all, I have to say
Mm,
your passion and authenticity and how you're thinking about being producer and an artist, that is just so remarkable. It just shines through. We're getting like dozens and dozens of tweets from people just just resonating with that. So it just really shines through. You're not who I expected you to be, to put it mildly. And the Tirukural
mhm,
was also amazing.
I think this is
Um,
the
mm.
first time anyone quoted Thiruvalluvar on Clubhouse, so this is fantastic.
Make that,
uh,
and like, you should make that an NFT. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true.
uh, um, I want to ask maybe something, maybe some slightly personal to both you and Tubador. And again, feel free to not answer this, which is for a lot of people to be in the spot you are with. It's obvious that you have economic resources, and it is obvious that you are in part of the hottest, most interesting story in the world right now. You're
Mm,
literally on the front page of every
mm,
single newspaper. This is the hottest conversation in Clubhouse, but I suspect your neighbors around you don't know who you are. Here you are represented by imagery, but not
mm,
your names. How do you think about the notion of your personal identity and fame and pseudonymity? Because for a lot of
mm,
other people, this would be a moment to be like, this is me, and to soak in that. But you don't seem to want that. Why not?
mm. I think MetaKovan is me, so I'm good enough to soak in that, and you know. But to be frank, we, not everyone in the world, from around the world, get the same kind of space to express themselves, because we are also thinking larger than just now, and doing something now, right? Like, think about into the future, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, and the political landscape of where I am from is not. Um, I don't think it's very conducive for me to be just my own
Yep.
identity, right? So I've changed my location. I would have enjoyed, like, like, my favorite place is my home in my town, and
Mm-hmm.
so, like, I've left that. I almost feel like I'm in exile for years now. I don't get that luxury of living with my mom, right? And like, I don't get that food. Everything is there, so I'm thinking, okay, what is there in this name, right? And but we want to create something huge, which is going to change all of this. So it's okay for me to spend some time as this identity, and if it resonates, because this is not something I want to just connect with people from my own locality or something like that. But I think this a lot of people in this world feel this way, and that's something, that's a commonality, which is why I'm connecting with a lot of people as pseudonyms, and they also have pseudonyms. I have friends who are just pseudonyms, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we've not met each
The
other,
Balaji
and
Srinivasan pseudonym
yeah,
life.
Yes.
yeah, yeah. Definitely. So, Balaji
By the way,
obviously is a
when I
huge
was reached
inspiration.
out, I had a suspicion that you were actually Balaji for a second, right? But now I'm like, no, you're not. But for a second, I was wondering whether you're actually Balaji.
Very different than biology.
I think we are Balaji.
Like I'm obviously a huge fan of Balaji, and in terms of pseudonyms and the creation of the digital state. But I don't know if we get into that topic, so let's keep it
Um,
chill.
no, I think Balaji is in here somewhere, but okay. Okay, we want to kind of process that, but thank you so much for sharing that, all of that, and also especially at the end, and you talking about being in exile and being away from your mom. It means a lot. Thank you so much for sharing that. Okay, I want to get some of the other folks in here. Though I'm still kind of processing, listening to you and Tupador. Dylan, I want to go to you. Now, of course, Dylan Field, for folks who may not know, is very very well known in our industry for being the founder and CEO of Figma. But what not a lot of people may not know is he's been involved with crypto and especially CryptoPunk since the very beginning, which I think in some ways could be the beginning of where a lot of this art moment came from. And Dylan, you had quite the interesting week too, which I'll let you describe. So could you talk to us about just crypto art, CryptoPunks, your profile picture, your history there, and also what happened this week?
Yeah, absolutely. Before I start, Meta Tubador, thank you so much for sharing that. And your story is just so inspiring, and I'm deeply resonating with so many of the points. So I hope we can connect more later. And Shriram can reset that if you like to. So for those who don't know, CryptoPunks was the first Ethereum crypto art project. It was created in 2017 by two visionary artists, Matt Hall and John Watkinson. There are only 10,000 CryptoPunks, which anyone could claim for free in the early days. And of those 10,000 CryptoPunks, there are only 88 zombie punks, 24 apes, 9 aliens, and exactly one alien punk smoking a pipe. Its name is 7804. And I personally believe that in 100 years, we look back on 7804 as the Mona Lisa of digital art. My relationship with 7804 started in January 2018 when I bought it for 12 ETH or 15K USD. At that point, most CryptoPunks traded for about $100 or $200. So why did I pay 15K for this picture of an alien? It wasn't just how rare it was, though it was rare. 7804 compelled me. It had gravitas. I found it to be absolutely magnetic, and I had a sense that others out there would feel the same way. I also believe that the question of what is art would propel the crypto art movement forward. So, what is art? And what does it mean to own art? What does it mean to have a relationship with art? In the case of CryptoPunks, the answers to all these questions are unclear, which is part of why I personally find the project so, so fascinating. Let's start with what is art. You might say that CryptoPunks art piece is the algorithm Matt and John use to generate the CryptoPunks images. Or you might claim that the art piece is each individual punk. I personally believe that the actual art piece is the CryptoPunks community, which has been feverishly speculating on and trading punks and discussing punks over the past 3.5 years. And this might sound absurd to people listening, but many of us in the community have formed deep relationships with our punks. We set them as our avatars, we discuss them ad nauseum, we even dream about them. The punks become deeply intertwined with our identities. They effectively function as masks. So, why did I sell 7804? To be completely honest, is because I wanted to see 7804 become the patron saint of digital art, or perhaps the patron alien, if you will. It bothered me that it was not universally acknowledged that 7804 was the best, most valuable CryptoPunk. It bothered me that it was not a symbol for the entire crypto art movement. And there's a paradox because 7804 cannot be seen as the symbol for the crypto art movement unless it changes hands. So I priced it at 4,200 ETH, which was extremely aggressive, yet still believable price point for someone who resonated with 7804 as much as I did. Knowing that if it was bought for that price point, it would bring even more attention to CryptoPunks as a project and also to 7804 as a piece of art. 7804 was purchased earlier this week by a mysterious figure known only as Perugia. Perugia is, of course, a reference to Vincenzio Perugia. who stole the Mona Lisa on August 21st, 1911. And his theft was heavily covered in the news and made the Mona Lisa the most known piece of art in the world.
Mhm.
Since purchasing 7804, Prugia has made a beautiful statement on Twitter, which I encourage all of you to read. And as I reflect on it, 7804 has been surprisingly emotional for me, which I think speaks to its power. It's emotional not because I think I could get more money from it, but rather because I had a relationship with the work. As I reflect on the sale, I also felt a very deep bond to Prugia, the new owner of 7804. And I don't know who Prugia is. I don't know what their gender is or what ethnicity they are or where they live, but I have finally found someone who appreciates 7804 as much as I do. So with that, it's time for me to change my mask.
Wait, this is like an Apple keynote moment.
I love this.
This is great.
Hopefully it's updated for all of you.
Oh
Refresh if it
wow.
hasn't.
Oh
You have to
my
refresh.
God,
That's
that's so
amazing.
cool.
Full refresh. Wow.
And
Ooh.
Perugia, if you're out there listening, enjoy your time with 7804. But please know that owning 7804 is a paradox and possibly a curse. Because if you appreciate 7804 as much as I do, then you will stop at nothing to make sure it is seen by everyone as the most valuable piece of digital art. And because of that, your time will be limited with it. And when you sell, which you will forever live with the question of why you parted ways with the digital Mona Lisa.
Dylan, that was fantastic.
Applause. I mean, oh my God.
So
This
good.
is such a good episode.
Man. Oh man.
Dude, that was
Oh my
amazing.
God.
Who wants to go
Somebody else
next?
talk. I'm
Cool.
kind of speechless. Justin, say something.
Oh man, this is wild. I love how much energy there is in this room, and it's an honor to have worked with Tubador and MetaKovan before on Metapalooza, and Dylan. I mean, dude, what a story, man! It's so cool to hear it from you.
Thank you. I feel lucky.
Dylan, explain to us this. You briefly covered it just now, but why
By the way,
is
I have to say I think that might have been like I don't want to say Steve Jobs because that was an Apple keynote as poetic moment. I want to get the clip of that mini speech up there
that is so cool?
because that was really well done, Dylan. Really well done.
Yeah. Dylan, I wanted to ask, even though you just brought it up too, why sell? You also talked about the buyer at some point also selling. Um, it was super personal. 7804 was deeply personal to you. Why sell it then?
Yeah, like I said, I think this is the paradox of it is that
Yeah.
if you so the buyer made a statement and he said something similar to what I said at the start, which was there are only 10,000 CryptoPunks, and of those there are only 9 aliens of the 10,000 CryptoPunks. And let's compare that to something that's also a scarce good, which is Bitcoin, which there will only ever be 21 million of. If you are of a collector mindset, if you believe that the first piece of digital art, which is CryptoPunks, truly, I think there are other ones before that. This is the one that was the first one that really caught on Ethereum. Then I think that you will forever value the scarcity of the object, but
Yeah.
also as I think you look at the different punks available, 7804 just stands out. And I think that for me, like I said, it really bothered me that 7804 was not seen as the symbol of the crypto art movement. I really do believe that it should be that it is the digital Mona Lisa. And as I watched the ecosystem evolve, I realized it would never become that unless it actually changed hands and for
Yeah.
a high price. So that's partially a motivation for selling as well.
It's amazing, Dylan. Just amazing, historic. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for sharing that. That's just incredible. Okay, I want to go to somebody who I think we mentioned his name, and he was kind of gracious enough to join us. And in some ways, I think he's kind of been the spiritual godfather of a lot of stuff which has been talked about here. So, Balaji, welcome. Two things. First, second thing, I would love to get your thoughts about all of what has been happening and what MetaKovan and others have been talking about, what Dylan's been talking about. But first, how do you feel about ரெண்டு பேர் தமிழ் பேசிண்டு doing this today?
Tamil Purida? Yeah, no, pretty cool. Hi, Troubadour and
Hi,
MetaKovan.
Balaji.
Hi, hi. So it's a honor.
So, I am, Indos and crypto, match made in heaven. We just need to finish persuading the U.S. government. Um, so, yeah, and it's really awesome to see this small community. Roham is here, and Dylan, and folks who Elena, folks we've known over the years. Um, I have a couple of comments on the general NFT space. If you wanted my thoughts on them.
Yeah,
So, well, why don't I just jump in? So, one is, I tweeted this yesterday, but I do think there's a subreddit on, called Meme Economy, and it's sort of like, I'd buy that meme, I'd sell that meme, where people are thinking, oh, that's going to go viral, or that's going to be really popular, and people do remixes of it. And what I actually think is something like that will become real, where not that it would cut down on memetic virality, not that people would pay to view the meme, but it might be something like the CryptoPunks thing, where people would pay to own the original copy, or there might be mass personalization. So meme gen might go on chain, and you could do SaaS for gas, where on chain storage right now is actually at a premium, but eventually, or in the not too distant future, you can imagine a smart contract on chain that would customize the meme, make your variant, log the fact that you did it at that time. And so you could show that, oh, I made this derivative of jealous girlfriend, 2024 or something like that. So you sort of establish priority, which is important in other fields like citations for academia. Um, the second thing is I've sort of been thinking, I mean, this is a little bit speculative, but insofar as a lot of crypto art is, bidding on these digital things, the digital world, and people want to say, okay, what is the sustaining thing what is the thesis on why this might work, why these valuations might not be necessarily exactly sustainable, but over the long term, the broad movement, goes up. And I'd say there's a couple of theses on that. One is, if everybody thinks about how much time they're spending looking at a screen of some kind, whether mobile or a laptop or something like that, for many people it's more than 50% of their waking hours, which means that probably most of the rest of your life will be spent in the matrix. And that includes VR, that includes podcasts, that includes essentially all time interacting with the internet in the broadest sense. And so, if that's the case, then more of our perceived world is digital, and beautifying that world with digital art will be a big thing. We already see that in video games, where people will spend hours working up for some sword. So part of the thesis is much more life is going digital, and so art will go digital as well as the economy. The entire economy eventually becomes a crypto economy. The second concept is, and this is more hopeful, but I do think it'll probably happen, within our lifetimes, maybe more like a 20-year vision. But robotics is getting really good. And a lot of the sort of universal basic subsistence type stuff, I think you'll be able to ship a shipping container that puts, like a robotic farm. I think something like that is possible. Not today, not next year, but by 2030, I wouldn't rule it out. Where people, if they want to, can opt out of both consumption and the rat race, and just go and essentially farm tomatoes somewhere with this robotic farm. People have looked at things like this. I've tweeted about stuff like this. It's a longer case to make. If that is the case, then there's a potential future world where much of our physical world is taken care of, like at least at a more than subsistence level via robotics. It's just the price of power to automate things around the house.
yeah.
And then the competition is in the virtual realm, and that's actually progress where it's just pure bits. It doesn't actually affect your physical body. You're just playing a game effectively. And so our physical needs are taken care of. I know that sounds utopian now, but I think it's an interesting vision to push for. So those are two theses on why NFT art may become more popular in the future.
This is amazing. Balaji, first, thank you so much for jumping in here and just being a part of this. I was just messaging Sriram and telling him this is a conversation that I think we are all going to remember for a very long time. It's just really surreal to be here. I think we are all just like kind of in this stunned silence now. And yeah, I think Justin, I wanted to ask about your day. You've had quite the day as well, the last few days as well. Tell us about the sale. Tell us, give us the backstory.
Wow, yeah. It has been a crazy 2 weeks
Yeah.
for for me and for Slime Sunday as well, who's my art director of 5 years. The quick version is I started experimenting with NFTs in 2017, 2018, but the market wasn't quite there yet. I was just quite excited to create direct connections with fans, being able to interact with them without having to go through a centralized platform, and more particularly this idea that my music has been streamed over 1 billion times, but I have no idea who any of those people are. It's always kind of bothered me in a sense. And so coming into summer of last year, Trevor Jones, who's a very well-known crypto artist, was releasing the Picasso Bull, the digital rendition of Picasso's Bull that sold on Nifty Gateway. And it just kind of inspired me to re-explore NFTs from my passion about it in 17, 18, and try to apply the framework to audiovisual art. So fast forwarding to today, after getting a lot of support from the community, 2 weeks ago I tokenized my first album, and that was an insane experience. We did, I guess, 11.7 million worth of bids that were all kind of captured by this auction format that I created, which was crazy. I mean, it's kind of weird to say that because I never expected it. But that was 2 weeks ago, and then today it was pretty insane to see the community come out and support a bunch of custom songs that will never be released on centralized platforms, or unless the auction winner decides that they want to release it on Spotify, in which case I'd be cool with that. But we released a bunch of unreleased music on Nifty Gateway with visual art, full length songs, and the bidding was just rocketed off the bat, and we still have 23 hours left. So it was pretty wild. It's just amazing to see the support of the community, and I guess being an early believer really does pay off. I think I've believed in this stuff for a while, as Dylan has, as a lot of us have on stage, and it's just amazing to see the mainstream appeal and how many people are starting to really understand it.
Hey, Justin, I have a question for you. Sorry, Sharon, you want to go?
No, go on now, Joe.
Well, one thing you said is I think it's really interesting, this idea of selling the songs themselves. It's like a weird throwback, pre-streaming era to it's just like a different way to monetize. And one of the things I get inbounded about all the time is sort of people in the music industry thinking about these different business models, like tokenizing rights, buying masters, crowdsourcing, buying of masters, all this kind of stuff. I'm really curious, like it feels like we're just starting to scratch the surface. And so what are the kinds of things you're really excited about? The intersection of NFT and music and these rights and community. It feels like there's going to be 100 different experiments over the next, I don't know, 6 to 12 months. It's just there's so much energy and activity here right now. So I'm really curious what you're most excited about.
When you say that, it does get me excited, because I've always been quite excited about giving fans ownership in master recording rights of music. So there's no reason why fans can't own 5% of one of my songs. The issue with this, right, is that it's a security token today, and it also costs a lot of money legally to get paperwork set up. I mean, Reg CF has improved from 1 to 5, but it's still quite difficult to execute a tokenized music token, or a tokenized music rights, because of the transferability issues with securities law and with money transmission laws. So there's a quite high barrier to entry, both from a legal cost standpoint and from a technical standpoint. But the next step in all of this is creating, kind of in my mind, how do we create the safe style agreement for fans to invest in music, something that doesn't require a high legal barrier to entry, but also is efficient because it's tokenized and transferable, and rights can or royalties can accrue to those token holders' stake. So I do believe the future of this for music is beyond the collectible layer, but an actual investable layer of music, so that fans can participate in the upside of their favorite artists. It's something that I'm quite excited about, something that I'm actively working on. And yeah, I totally agree. I think that's the next step here.
Justin, how long did you take to prepare for that album drop? Like, what can you kind of walk us through the process that you went through?
Oh man, so to be honest, it was. I like to say that it's been 3 to 4 years of thought instead of it's been maybe 6 months since I've been active again in a more in an intense sense of like working every day on this stuff. But I really started thinking about this stuff in 2017, thinking about all my frustrations with the music business, how I've been an independent artist my whole career. I've been fighting an uphill battle with distributors. I never sold a piece of myself because I felt uncomfortable doing so. and it's just, it's something that's been front of mind for a really long time. And apologies, guys, I'm a little my brain isn't working properly, so
Well,
if I need a pause.
you don't have any excuse for your brain not working. You had a pretty boring day. No excuses. No excuses.
Oh man, but Donnie, I think, preparing for the album drop, to be honest, I mean, I the cool thing that I'm kind of proud of, but also maybe not 100% proud of, I actually animated the song visuals myself. I wanted to learn how to use After Effects, but I'm not very good yet. So I really appreciate that everyone liked it. But so I'm proud in that sense. But I also feel like I have so much to learn in After Effects. I didn't do like anything too crazy. I just created audio visual waveforms, like that were reactive to the audio, on like this canvas sort of thing. But I learned from Slime Sunday. He just taught me how to use After Effects, and it was quite similar to using music software. Visual software is very similar workflow, so I kind of picked it up pretty quickly. But the idea behind tokenizing the album, I honestly had no idea it was going to do what it was going to do. But in the future, I guess, aside from this collectible layer, I do want to give fans equity in my next album. I want them to actually own a piece of it and participate in it. So, that's kind of my future effort.
That's amazing. Amazing. Well, congratulations, just amazing. And I was just amused at the sight, at the thought of like you struggling with your own anime visuals, but amazing. Um, okay, I want to go to Elena, because I know Elena. I think you have a question for MetaKovan and maybe also Dylan.
I do. And thank you so much for this wonderful, amazing conversation. And, for me, the interesting and very exciting thing has been that even though there's been so much news recently about NFTs and crypto, I think the traditional media is really shaping it to be about money and making money and speculating. And what I've heard from both MetaKovan and Dylan is that that's really not at all why you guys are in this space. And MetaKovan, like, I mean, the reason why you were buying NFTs and the reason why you bought the recent Beeple piece is not at all about money or speculating, right? It's really about believing in almost like a higher power and a higher purpose. At least that's what I've heard from the way you were describing your experiences. And Dylan, from you as well, I think it's so much about channeling kind of the sense of community and how you can make things happen for the world of crypto and for the world of creators. And I would love it if you could please expand more on that.
Yeah, fantastic. MetaKovan, you want to go
Sure,
first?
sure. Actually, if I've given the feeling that like I'm not here for the money, that's also a little too saintly for me. Obviously, money is why I could buy this piece, right? So um, most of the day I spend on making sure that I have the resources to do what I want. So a majority of my time I spend on making money, right? So it could be um, like managing my portfolio, etc. So NFTs right now for me is not about making money, but it's more like at some point we are going to make a lot of money out of this, because that's how these things work. But we are not here for a short term thing. It's more like delaying gratification, right? Like let the fruits ripe. Why cut the tree when it's still growing? So that's the philosophy here. So it's not like I'm opposed to making money or having money, but I think that it's important to grow together. That's quite important to me. And also making sure that we are not doing it for the wrong reasons, where the incentives are I make short money, or someone tries to make money in a very short time. That will spoil the whole ethos. So apart from that, in the long term, I will be happier if everyone around here is richer than and where they are today. So money is very important. It makes sure that we stay relevant.
Yeah, I'll also add that in the case of the CryptoPunks project, I really do think that capital flowing through the system and changing hands through punks is part of the art itself. and it's almost performance art of CryptoPunks as it develops, as these punks change hands, as they get bid, as different ones are explored as identities. I actually do believe that the capital has an intrinsic link as part of the market in the system.
Dylan,
So I think it's kind of hard to divorce those into.
Dylan, did you happen to share the buyers, or did anyone mention the buyers thread on Twitter? I thought it was pretty incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, you should read it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
excellent.
yeah, no, I read it last night. I thought
Mhm.
Well, I
it
meant
was
you should read it
brilliant.
aloud to everybody.
It's a long one. You should read it aloud. You
I,
sold
I've
it.
spoken enough already. Someone else got to do it.
I would say he or she or they are actually listening in, and there was a tweet just a short while ago. So, Perugia, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Perugia, if you're listening and you want to come on up, let me know. DM me. We would love to have you here. I feel like it's your kind of crowd, whoever you are. I want to go to Roham and also maybe Donnie. Both of you, Roham, starting with you. You folks have been close to the NFT ecosystem. Roham, what you've done with Dapper has been kind of like generating so much of the energy around NFTs. Just give me your thoughts about what's been happening this week, and also, I think one question which you often get from the mainstream press is this sustainable? Is this hype? And it's kind of like a question which comes up a lot. I'm sure you're kind of tired of handling it, but I'm sure a lot of people also kind of think about that. So how do you think about it? Just kind of your thoughts on what's been happening now. Roham?
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. Thanks for having me. And I just want to say, MetaKovan and Tubador have been, supporters of old NFT projects. Whether or not they get the sort of New York Times and Wall Street Journal cover front pages, and that's I think, to answer your question directly, why I'm not worried about the every single time there's a headline making sale and you look into who purchased the item, they're true believers who, in the majority of cases, never intend on selling the item. And so, how can something be a bubble if the person that established the price for it is not willing to sell it? So that's in a lot of ways, NFTs are different than sort of any stock or cryptocurrency, because they have an emotional connection, and usually, especially at the higher end prices. I mean, you heard Dylan talk about his CryptoPunk. That was the best framing and sales pitch for digital art I've ever heard. It's super cool to hear, and it's that's why it's meaningful. And I mean, for our projects, CryptoKitties was inspired by CryptoPunks. What's different about it is most of the cats were bred by the people themselves. So we made 50,000 Gen Zero kitties. Those are sort of the limited edition, and then anybody can buy two cats and make them. So it's it's so cool to see the different experiments that people are doing. But I think Chris Dixon's in the audience, and last time he spoke, he put it well. I think it's the reason it's happening now is a combination of maturity of infrastructure, whether it's the marketplaces and platforms like Bitski that Donnie can talk about, or blockchains like Flow, and it's the communities, it's people who've been tirelessly working for years, and now we're sort of ready for prime time.
Thank you for that. That makes so much. I love the idea of if you're not willing to sell. I think that theme is so profound.
Yeah.
Donnie, I want to maybe go to you just a bit because Rome just mentioned Bitski. Could you just maybe briefly describe Bitski and also kind of his weigh in on the same theme of price sustainability? Because I know you have thoughts on this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that, like everyone, this has been an incredibly inspiring conversation, and to hear sort of the framing of how Meta, Tubador, and even Dylan, and Justin, these guys that I think that are, supporting an economy that is going to massively eclipse the existing sort of economic, like, total, like, in totality that we see today. And so what I
I guess with Bitsky, Bitsky is kind of this concept that, hey, we've seen so many great things happening. We've seen so many hints of just like the opportunity of what it means to kind of remove barriers and level the playing field in sort of like a free economy way. And I think from our perspective, we couldn't wait any longer to see to get more people involved in this. And I think that everyone on stage would probably admit that it still takes quite a bit of work to really get deep into understanding what is an NFT, how do I get cryptocurrency, how do I buy an NFT, what is hell bent on for the past 2 years is like bringing this opportunity to the masses. And so I appreciate the shout out, Roham, and obviously I think what you guys have done. I got the pleasure to pop by the Dapper office early last year, while they were still in major crunch mode with Flow and Top Shot, and what you guys have released is absolutely incredible. Um, and I think that it's a testament that like blockchain enables these outcomes that people really want, and it really makes people happy that the adoption that we've seen of the Top Shot's just been insane. And I think that that's been a big inspiration for how we've been building Bitsky, which is effectively like a Shopify for anybody, any creator to kind of quickly onboard and be able to create and sell NFTs without having to become blockchain experts immediately. And I think the intent is that over time, that's something that people can evolve to, and and like I think everyone, we played a computer game before we learned how to write code sometimes. And so I think that that's really what we want to do, is kind of bridge or kind of smooth the on ramp to getting this access to millions, hundreds of millions, billions of people, and on the flip side, making an extremely easy purchase experience for the consumer. So the whole intent of Bitsky is really to just like say, hey, there is all of these creators right now that are have 100 200,000 Instagram followers or Twitter followers, or they've done so much work to basically facilitate and create these communities, and NFTs seem to be a mechanism that really help them monetize that community in a way that's mutually beneficial. And we launched on February 8th our marketplace. We've had over 60 creators come on board and sell anywhere from 50 to 500 different pieces. And I would say arguably on our platform, probably less than 5% of those have been taken to a secondary market and sold. It's just these communities that are so passionate and can only do so much with a like on Instagram, that now they have this sort of medium in which they can like show their support to the people that inspire them daily. And so yeah, that's really the intent of Bitsky, is to really just see the stuff that sort of you know you know the things that like Meta, that Tubador have been supporting, the ideas that Justin's throwing out. So I was asking him about like the like how far are we from a safe for music rights, because these are the type of things that I think we're trying to kind of push to as many people as possible. So
Yeah, I think that's great. Um, I wanted to ask MetaKovan. I had a question for you. For somebody, we've been getting, a few hundred messages now, and these are all, a lot of people know, have context, have read the news, have like, are like really digging into like, what's happening with Beeple's auction and all of that. But there are lots and lots of people who are intrigued and enthusiastic and are just getting started. Um, for somebody who's just getting about to get started or just getting into this, there's so many technical terms, there is a lot of things to go, it's very intimidating. uh, how does one get started, in your opinion, in the world of NFT crypto, as broadly or as narrowly as you want to go?
I think one context that's important when it comes to NFT is that it's a producer economy, right? Like where more than driven by consumption, anyone can also be uh, a producer. So you have to think about NFTs as um, can I also do something, right? Like can I put what I'm doing and make it into an NFT? Can I create a community around it? Um, can I live my life without needing some other revenue stream and just on NFTs? That'll be something very interesting, and a lot of people have not really explored that, right? I know that a few people even here are exploring that completely, and that's what is interesting. So that's one thing everyone should think, where you for a second. It might not be for everyone, but I'm sure that there are a lot of people who should put the hat of a producer for a second and think, can I do something? Can I create an NFT? And to create an NFT is quite easy these days. OpenSea, they put together a Bible. It's called the NFT Bible, which I really like. I think Devin wrote it. I'm not sure who put it together, but it's a good one to get started. Uh, there are there are other places where you can just instantly go and start building your own NFT. So that's one. But if you're collecting, what's very important to understand is that not all NFTs or most of the NFTs you see out there might not hold their value, right? So it's important to think about it not from an investment point of view, and see if you can collect things you love. So if you want to support your an artist who you are a fan of, maybe you can spend some money on it. Think about it as consuming and not an investment. And if it works out, it's awesome, right? So if you take that attitude towards NFTs, it's easier because you'll not then spend a lot of money. So think about consuming them, right? So that's the best way. And a lot of people here, for example, I never bought a CryptoPunk, right?
Yeah.
Because I knew that it's a interesting investment thing, but I didn't connect with it. And I never bought an NBA Top Shot too, but I'm very close to Roham. That's because I have nothing to do with NBA. So it's for me. I know that I can make money there, but it's just I spend my time on what I enjoy, and as a side effect, if there is appreciation, that's awesome, right? So if you take that approach to all these things that you see out there, it'll be much better for you, and it'll be a fun experience rather than a pressurized stressful experience.
Yeah.
Meta, I couldn't
I'd
agree
like
with
to
you
just
more. I was going to say that I feel exactly the same way about you should collect the things that you feel passionate about. And for me, the same thing. Like, Decentraland never was my jam, but I respect the heck out of the fact that it is so many other people's, and I believe in the metaverse. And I also think that on the creator side, we can all take a cue from people in terms of if you're a creator of NFTs. I really do believe that the people that will have the most appreciation value are those that create communities and those that create a lot of work. And so the more work that you can put out there, the more work you can create, the more a chance a community has to form, and the more a chance the work will have value over time.
Yeah.
great points, Dylan and MetaKovan. In fact, sort of building up on that, uh, there are a whole bunch of resources and people who've been speaking about NFTs in the space, and we have Andrew in the room. For me, the Zmaret podcast has been a great portal into understanding the space and the creators that go into, building the space. There are quite a few others like Matthew Ferrick, for instance, who has a podcast of his own, and all of this at a practical level. I'd also like to acknowledge the almost voodoo magic of the NFT space because consider this room, for instance, right? The trajectory of our lives couldn't have been more diverse. Even with people like Sriram or Ati, with whom I probably share common beginnings in a sense, but the way our life has sort of panned out is increasingly so divergent. But we
Right.
all sort of converged uh, at the NFT space. That's because of the experience layer of NFTs and how easy it is to fall into this rabbit hole. At the end of the day, I think we are all looking for the same kind of thing, and NFTs represent that, if I may use the word, that singularity, I think.
That's great.
I,
Yeah.
I, I love that. And I mean, I would say, so many people right now are just being blown away because they share the same origins, I think, as you and MetaKovan, and I think they're kind of blown away by, just the journeys that you folks are obviously on. I know we're almost out of time. Actually, we're way over time, and this has probably been like, like a historic conversation which we can go on for many, many hours. But I'm I would say, so where if so MetaKovan, like I'm just curious, right? I want kind of like a riff of your name a little bit. Where do you see the metaverse going from here? Let us say 5, 10 years out in the future. We started with you, so I think it's only right that we end with you. Where do you see your future? Where do you see the metaverse's future? Before we wrap.
Um, To be brief, I see digital states, so digital assets becoming the reserve assets of new digital states, and tribes being tribes on the internet, uh, who have common commonalities, who get together and make sure that there is it's like people talk about neo feudalism a lot these days. I feel like if the world is going to get more dystopian, metaverse is essentially your way out of the dystopia, where you at least that's your life, the raft. So metaverse becomes very important in that case. Even if that's not the case, that's where you're going to find people who have common things like you. So it's like leave the physical world, because maybe you share the same geography, but you don't share the same values, or you not share the same hobbies. But on the metaverse, you're going to find a community that you have so much in common, and then you can obviously meet them in person also, right? So it's like, let's make money together, and like then celebrate somewhere. So that's what is going to be the future.
Wow. Um, okay. I want to wrap on that note. This is such a stunning episode. So many people just thank first everyone who tuned in. Just thank you so much. We've been overwhelmed by all the tweets and the comments. Special shout out to all the Tamilians who are just blown away. Trust me, I was as shocked as you folks are, and just kind of so touched. And to all of our guests today, our usual crew, of Avichal and Stephen, to Andrew, who connected us and has been just amazing for the last 24 hours, to Elena, to Paul for making this platform happen, and all the folks involved with, this movement that we have been kind of talking about and been a part of. Balaji, who's I think is like the spiritual godfather for a lot of this, is kind of the phrase I say. To Donnie for all the stuff with Bitsky, to Roham, in other ways, I mean, just kind of like pushing this whole space forward. Uh, Justin Blau, you should probably go to sleep, man. I mean, you probably have intense day. You should get to bed like right now.
Thanks,
You've
man.
done enough today. You have done enough today. And 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 Dylan, who's been like a good friend for all things with Figma, but that Dylan, I think your passion for CryptoPunks and that little speech over there is just magic, and we're gonna get that out there. I think this is like an amazing speech. But most of all, thank you to Tubador and MetaKovan. Like, I have no idea who you are, but I also feel like I really know who you are, and your authenticity, your passion, and your just vision for how you see this has just been so touching. I don't know whether MetaKovan should be the right name, or you should be, in the theme of the metaverse, you should be hero protagonist. But uh, you know, it's
Okay.
just it's just really amazing. So thank you so much for being on the show. We're going to put up clips. We're going to put up recording. We're definitely going to more of this. Now you folks all know we have a tradition, which is we try and pick a song which is tied to the theme of the show or one of the guests. And usually I pick it one of the, but today Arti had a very strong opinion on what the song should be. So before I play this, Arti, do you want to tell us what we're going to listen to and why?
Uh, sure, this might be very random. Most people won't get it, but MetaKovan, Troubadour. This is from either the song is Janagana Mana. I think it's just very appropriate if you listen to the lyrics. And most people, for everyone else, like most people here who don't know Tamil, I'm really sorry, but it's a really good song. It really conveys the power of the people and the power of decentralization. I think in a very weird way. So I hope you like it too.
Okay. Okay. Here's either Janagana Mana.